every now and then, Netflix drops some of the best animated movies out of nowhere without telling anyone. Just like what happened with K-pop Demon Hunters, which even won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. And Swapped follows that same path with a story entirely focused on the nature of a world that is totally different from ours. But did you actually notice and understand all the deep details hidden in this incredible movie? The true villain. We're giving you a heads up right now that this video contains some spoilers. And the main one is definitely the fact that Swapped has simply the biggest plot twist in 2022 animation. The story follows Ollie, a puku, which is a small animal that's a mix of a squirrel and a rodent, and Ivy, who is a Javan, a species of bird that has feathers that look like plants. And take my word for it, several animals follow this same logic of merging animals and plants, and it turned out really cool. The movie starts off feeling like one of those Disney-style films where there are no villains, but in the middle of the trouble they go through when they transform, she into a puku and he into a Javan, a sympathetic, friendly, and innocent fish named Boogle appears, which is also the name of his species. He is the only one of his kind in the Valley's lake where the story takes place, which is why he is completely lonely. However, there's a very sinister reason for all of this that we discover in the final third of the movie. The light buds of the Ds, who are giant animals that abandon the valley, and we'll talk more about them in a bit, give you the ability to change shape into the last animal whose name you spoke before touching it. And Boogle was, before being a fish, the firewolf responsible for the deaths of 4 zoos and for scaring the others of the same species away from the valley, because he wanted to rule everything through fear, but he was transformed by the ancient Zos into a Boogle as a form of punishment for the atrocities he committed. And that is exactly why the fish helped both Ivy and Ollie find the light buds to return to normal, since that way he would use them to manage to retransform himself and go back to dominating the valley. When this scene happens, you basically freak out and your mind is blown because of how incredible it is, since nobody had any idea that this had happened. It's simply shocking, as the movie hadn't indicated this at any point. Seriously, I almost jumped off the couch at that moment. But besides this incredible twist, the movie is also full of several other hidden details and amazing things that might blow your mind. Body swapping. Now let's talk about when Netflix simply fooled everyone with the trailer for Swapped. The story, which seemed pretty silly in the teasers, hinted that Ollie and Ivy actually swapped bodies, which is a very common trope in various cartoons and movies. However, the truth is that this doesn't happen at any point. In fact, Ollie transforms into a male Javan, which is Ivy's species, and the female bird in turn becomes a female puku. In other words, they remain themselves, just in the forms of different animals. No staying in each other's bodies stuff. This was one of the unique things about the movie that we thought was incredible too. But you can kind of understand Netflix's choice to hide this information so as not to make it seem like the movie was more complex than it actually was. Death. Another not-so-hidden detail that happens in the film and gives the animation a slightly more mature vibe is how it handles death. This is because, although we don't see any character actually dying in the movie, it is made evident that it happens in the animal world of Swapped, just like it happens in our world. For example, Ivy mentions that her parents and several other Javans died of hunger before Ollie taught them how to eat the piplets. Another moment where death is mentioned occurs when Ollie's grandmother tells the story of the firewolf and how he intentionally killed 4 Zos, just so everyone would be afraid of him. And we can't forget that the firewolf himself apparently kicked the bucket at the end of the movie after Ollie made the stone dam collapse. We also can't forget that at the beginning of the movie, in the same legend, it is shown that the ecosystem of Ollie's world works exactly like ours, where carnivorous animals feed on smaller animals, different species. Now let's talk about some of the species created to build the universe of Swapped. In almost every case, they are a mixture of plant or nature elements with animals we already know. Besides the Javans, Ivy species, which are birds that have plants on their heads, and the which are a mix of squirrels and rodents, we have the tree wolf species, which is the firewolf's original species and the top predators of the valley. Among them, there is a little pup who is always hungry. There are also the bush deer, which look like the tree wolves since they have branches on their heads instead of antlers. There are also the pinecone hedgehogs, which are basically the hedgehogs we know, but with a pinecone appearance, as the name itself suggests. In addition to the stone bears, which are also carnivores and live in the water looking for fish, and they almost ate Ollie and Ivy when they transformed into boogles, which are also fish that seem to have fins made of seaweed. Not to mention the root snakes that live in caves and are absolutely identical to tree roots. We still have to mention all the leaf insects and fish and aquatic animals that look like seaweed and anemones whose names we don't even know. Seriously, there are so many. Ollie and Ivy's world is simply amazing. Now seriously, after all these details and Easter eggs, I think we deserve your subscription, don't we? Name change. Now let's talk about a fun fact that practically no one knows about Swapped. You probably have no idea, but the movie went through a global name change shortly before its release. During most of its production, it was known simply as Puku, which is the name of Ollie's species. However, shortly before the release, Netflix changed the name to Swapped, or its local variations, to highlight the idea of body swapping between the main characters. But here's another fun fact that few people know as well. Swapped was originally planned to be released on Apple TV+, but in October 2023, Netflix took over the distribution rights from Apple as part of a new deal with Skydance Animation, who actually animated the film. Because of this, Swapped was initially scheduled for a 2025 release, but the phenomenon of K-pop demon hunters ended up making Netflix postpone the debut of Ollie's feature film so it wouldn't be overshadowed by the hype of Rumi and Jinu, and they announced the film would premiere in 2026. Questions. Another thing that makes us think while watching Swapped is the amount of unknown facts the movie doesn't bring up. And this isn't even a criticism, just a fact. For example, we have no idea how long before the movie the events involving the Zeus and the firewolf took place. Another thing we have no idea about is the lifespan of each animal because, for example, the firewolf who became a boogle claimed to have spent ages alone in the lake. Still talking about the villain, it is shown that he was a common tree wolf and used a light bud to transform into the firewolf. However, it remains an open question whether other firewolves exist in this world or if he is a species created through his own will by touching the light bud. Going back to the fact that the firewolf was originally a tree wolf, can we say he is related to the current tree wolves that appear in the movie? Another question that lingers is, did Ivy help Ollie when he was transformed because she thought he was a good-looking guy she had never seen before? Honestly, I think so. Speaking now of the Zeus, at the end of the movie, Ollie transforms into one of them after apparently managing to talk to the dead Zo, who is actually the Puku Island, and asking it to grant the wish of generating one last light bud. So the question remains, after all, was the Zo alive or not? Honestly, I have doubts about that. What about you? Family. At several points in the movie, we can notice that the family factor is very important. And when I say several, I mean several. For example, in Ollie's case, when his actions practically condemn the Pukus to starve in the winter, the thing he feels most deeply is the fact that his father can no longer look him in the eye. But even so, when Ollie returns to the island, his parents are the first ones to try and rescue him. In Ivy's case, something different happens. But it also shows how family is the foundation of the plant-bird society, since after her parents left forever, she, as the older sister, was responsible for making her sisters survive by getting food for them. Moving away from the main core of the movie to the pack of tree wolves, we can see the moment when Ollie, in his fish version, saves the little pup from being eaten by the stone bears. And as a thank you for that, the wolves later help save the animals and take them to the Puku Island, showing that even for predators, family and their safety is something very important. Love. Now, let's talk about something that isn't a fact, but that some fans of the movie, including us, ended up noticing. Did you also feel that love was one of the most present factors in the entire movie? That's because, if you stop to think about it, love is obtained through empathy. That is, thinking about the other person too. And when the Zeus granted the animals of the valley the ability to transform into another species, from that moment on, the transformed animal can both understand and talk to any of the other animals, which wasn't possible before. So love was exactly about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. We also can't fail to mention how the relationship between Ollie and Ivy developed as the story went on, to the point of them becoming best friends and, who knows, for the more hopeless romantic shippers out there, maybe even a couple. We can't forget to mention that even Ivy herself, who is extremely bossy, especially with her two younger sisters, took on that role after their parents' passing, and as the most responsible person in the family, had to protect them and provide what they needed, just as parents do. If the name for that isn't love, I don't know what is. And we can't fail to mention that the feeling of rejection and the absence of love felt by the firewolf was what drove him to be such a dangerous villain. Since he states that his life was full of pain, starting when he was just a pup and was abandoned by his pack members to die just because he was too small. Anyway, we can say that Swapped is a story that focuses on how love can help and how the absence of that same feeling can bring catastrophic consequences. We'll wrap up here, but if you also love everything involving pop culture, check out these 2 video options we're leaving for you on your screen. You can watch either of the 2, you're sure to love them.